You're listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author Sarah Boxx, where you get the inside scoop on the steps action takers and decision makers take to align their purpose to their principles and achieve their goals in business and life. We focus on the mantra, no labels, no limits, no excuses. Each week, you'll hear from remarkable guests who have overcome challenges and obstacles to succeed in the face of adversity. By listening to their stories, you'll get practical tips, tools, and resources you can implement today to bust through your own internalized prisons of worry and doubt. And now, without further ado, please welcome your commanding coach with plenty of chutzpah and heart, Sarah Boxx.
Hi, this is Sarah. Thank you so much for downloading this episode of the No Labels, No Limits podcast, a podcast all about shedding limiting labels and beliefs so we can all shine our light in the world. I believe without a doubt we are each capable of much more than we ever imagined, and that more often than not we hide our dreams and light behind a wall of limiting labels and beliefs or excuses. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more today when, again, I am flying solo as we continue the theme of belonging and evolving through wholehearted, honest connection to others in groups and in membership. So it was Woody Allen who said 80% of success is just showing up. And it's funny, that's true. And I was told that, I remember many years ago, I was going through a particularly rough time. I was new at a job. I felt overwhelmed. I also had suffered a major death in the family and a major relationship loss. And I was telling a counselor, I said, I don't even think I can make it. Why am I even going to work? You know, I'm the leader. I'm supposed to show up. And he says to me, showing up is 80% of it, Sarah. And honestly, when you show up, nobody else knows that you're feeling like that. Just show up and do your best for that day, which I started doing, and it does make a difference. So I have always remembered that showing up, ready or not, it can feel a bit scary and sometimes intimidating, but I want to make it more real. And you would think that after all those years ago, showing up would be natural to me, and it is. But also sometimes showing up can feel kind of inconvenient. So it's easy to delay or defer or decline a commitment or even something that you want to do. And I know this personally because I have an ongoing conversation with myself nearly every single Tuesday and now Thursday mornings. Sometime the conversation happens in my head between 5 and 6 a.m. There is a group I meet with at 7 a.m. Pacific time, that it's an hour and a half. It's a really important group to me. And yet at that point in the morning, it means I have to make other accommodations so I can have my normal morning routine and still be on that call and be ready by 7 a.m., which is a good hour and a half earlier than I would otherwise. So every Tuesday morning, I almost talk myself out of showing up. And the conversation happens a little different each week, but it goes along this line. I already have a full day. I already have people I'm meeting with. And I have a podcast to record. I have people to coach. I have clients that I'm working with. Oh, and by the way, I have my own health. I need to get out and walk. I need to do my morning routine. And on, if anybody can relate. And this week in particular, I'm more compressed because I'm also preparing to do 2 full-day offsite facilitations, 2 different groups, so 2 different purposes and content areas, which, by the way, I'm super excited about. But it takes extra thinking and prep on my part. So certainly I could make the case for not showing up to the group. So anyway, all of it is an excuse. It's a good reason. It's a rationalization or a rational lie, if you will. But I also hold myself accountable to my mantra, which is no labels, no limits, and no excuses. And I think I've mentioned this before on a podcast, but I've actually trademarked that no labels, no limits, no excuses, because I believe in it, and it doesn't mean that things don't change, but there's a difference between things that are out of your control changing to those that are within your control. And so you're just making excuses or labeling yourself as not ready, inadequate, or whatever. So anyway, this morning, with 20 minutes available to me, I got up, showered, got ready for the workday in record time. I had to go back a little later and finish, but thank goodness I have a home office. I had no travel time. So, but what actually got me up and in that co-learning working session of our membership, honestly, it was also the other members. Being part of that group provides me motivation. Even when I'm feeling tired or it's early for me, it's motivation. And it's also accountability. I know that there are people who count on me being there. So when I thought of the group, and I thought what collectively and individually people are working on and where they live in the world, not everybody's in the same time zone, my excuses, my rationalizations, they really did just kind of evaporate. This was what was going on in my head. It's early. I just woke up. Normally I wake up an hour earlier. I don't have enough time to get ready. Well, okay, let's take that a step back. Honestly, I could have put a baseball cap on, a sweatshirt, and been down at my computer in 5 minutes with a refill on my coffee. But I'm not the only one who has a full-time job, the only one living in the Pacific time zone. And hey, what about the member who lives in Switzerland and it's almost at the end of her day and she's having to take time out of her work and then follow up on that later? What about her? What about the gal who is taking the lead on this and coordinating it? So much for that, that excuse of not having enough time. And also I haven't made as much progress over the last week as I'd hoped to since our last meeting. And then here's the reality. No one has. We all expect things to go a certain way in our lives, but we're all women, leaders who have families, jobs, other obligations, and many have kids at home. So we are the ones who set our progress markers, and they're arbitrary. No one else is saying, hey, Sarah, how come you didn't do X, Y, and Z? We share them, but I'm the person I'm holding myself accountable to. But actually sharing them and then sharing what worked or didn't work is the journey, and that's where we get the most value from one another. Anyway, the point is that I could have skipped today and hopped on next week. It'll be happening again. And it was tempting for about 5 minutes to miss the session so I could do my other work. But I also know that would have had negative consequences for me. And some of them are at a psychic level, at a soul level. I would have had to admit that I wasn't living up to my values, and I certainly wasn't living on purpose. I would have had to admit I was putting an important goal to me on the back burner and ignoring that to make somebody else happy, even though I had planned my week and I have time in there for the other work. I would have had to admit that, and I wasn't willing to do that. I would have had to admit I was just playing it safe and hiding my vulnerability. That's a tough one. I like to come across as feeling confident and strong. And honestly, I don't always feel confident and strong. But if I showed up, I would just have to show up as me, not super prepped and ready to go. Or I would have had to admit that I chose comfort over getting new ideas or wisdom or input from other women, and particularly people that I respect because of their own journeys and their life experience. So I hopped on. I got up, like I said, got dressed, record time, and was on there. And then after we started the session, I heard something that really galvanized why I needed to be on that meeting. One of the other members said to me when I logged on, she said, "Oh my God, I was hoping you'd be on today because I've been looking in social media and I thought it was you, but your hair's shorter now, old picture, right? A couple years old, so it is much different looking. So I wasn't positive and I couldn't find your contact information, but I really needed to talk to you. What would have happened if I hadn't have showed up? Would we have connected later? Maybe. But what she needed was so simple. And I showed up in just a few moments, could share that with her. So I would have had to admit I let others down as well as myself just from not showing up. So it was tough love time for myself, and I just had to say, get up and get going. So, long way around to say, if you're someone who has kind of that undeniable pull to be a light in the world, to inspire action and hope, and to leave a legacy for good, then again, today's podcast is for you. Or solo cast in this case. You know, I am passionate about community and belonging. And there's many different forms of belonging and different types of community. If you've been following along with our blogs the whole month of July, we've been talking about that, different kinds of memberships, why people belong, the science behind it, what serves people well, also some of the downsides, and how to manage too much engagement, that type of stuff. We've been writing about that in our blog. But one of the things that I'm personally passionate about belonging in community is that we can see change happening. And in particular, I've worked with and had conversations with people who have such great ideas, but they get left in kind of that dream stage, or that I'm waiting for, or someday I want to do stage, while leaders are waiting to be ready. Or oftentimes people will say, I just don't have enough information, or I'm waiting for this one thing to happen. Things just aren't quite perfect. And it's really a means of avoiding looking like a failure or things aren't working well. So because creativity, inspiration, design, and getting to that go stage often need incubation and nurturing at the same time as they need realistic strategies and actions. So I personally thrive when I'm in the company of others who are also reaching and growing in a direction. You know, you may have a shared dream or goal. Doesn't have to be the same, but you know you're moving. And I know others do as well. And when we see our potential in a group, members can actually mirror back to us that we are selling ourselves short. So I'm also passionate about it because my business was founded to help people recognize and remove limiting labels and beliefs so that they can shine their light out into the world. Again, no labels, no limits, no excuses. And in the last episode last week, I talked about this redesign and co-creating version 2.0 of my Intentional Leaders membership. So just if you didn't listen to that episode or you haven't heard me talk about this before, the Intentional Leaders membership is a closed membership, meaning that we open it for new members twice a year. The next time is going to be this fall. October is what we're targeting, maybe as early as the end of September. We'll keep you posted on that. But the mission of our work is to challenge women in leadership to clarify, align, and declare their impact in the world. That's what the membership's mission is all about. And ultimately, membership increases confidence and ease for the leaders and change makers so that they can create a positive ripple effect in the lives of the hundreds and thousands of others they lead and serve by extension, right? So maybe you're serving your family of 5, but as you fulfill your dreams and your goals and you make progress and engage others in that, other people change and get the benefit of your growth. So that's what I'm talking about by creating that positive ripple effect out in the world, whether you're leading in your home, in your community, in a business. Maybe you're starting a business, so you'll be leading other team members. But really, the membership is designed to increase confidence and ease for leaders and change makers, which brings me to the opportunity I want to share with anyone today who counts themselves among the group of leaders who have that pull, that pull that just keeps calling your name, that says, hey, over here, remember this is a big dream or goal you have, and if you do this, you're going to make such a difference. But for folks who have that pull, maybe they can't articulate it, but they have that and they want to be in the company of other like-minded souls. So the opportunity is that on August 3rd, so coming up shortly, just around the corner at 11 a.m. Pacific time, I'm going to host a 1-hour Zoom session to re-envision and co-create the membership. We may change the name. We may change everything about it. That's going to be for the folks who hop on the call to say, this is what would serve me. These are the things that would help me be even more powerful in the work that I do. So what would we talk about on that call? I'll let you know a little bit about what I had thought about, kind of how the structure was before. But what I want to do is learn from you and from the other leaders on the call, what would serve you best? How often would you want to connect in this membership with other leaders? What topics would be most helpful for you? The typical things, I say they're typical because I know they work, are things about mindset, goal, limit busting work, those types of things, as well as tactical strategy, technical things. But also there may be special topics or experts you would like to hear from. So all of that, getting that mapped out briefly in that hour is my objective, so that I can get to work on the back end by redesigning and then rolling this out for new members. Now, the folks who are already members are going to have the benefit of remaining members, but we'll open the door and welcome new members in the fall. So if you want to sign up and you want to get the Zoom link, connect with us. You can do that through our website at www.sarahboxx.com and enter August 3 co-design session in the comments box, or there's a link below in the show notes for this that you can click on that. And if you do that, we'll be sure to send you the meeting information. So I really hope you'll take me up on this offer. I will tell you that it does feel a little vulnerable putting this out there to folks. I don't know. Will anybody show up? I don't know that either, but if I don't share with you, I won't ever get to meet you. So remember, we are all works in progress. We're all evolving and growing day by day. And I just want to remind us and myself repeatedly that when we clarify our vision, goals, and dreams, and when we make sure that those align with our values and our purpose, we've taken the first 2 steps on the journey of being change makers and legacy builders. But it's when we take that 3rd step and declare our intentions for good and commit to action that we actually start that positive ripple that goes out into the world. So progress for all of us is the goal. And as Winston Churchill said more than 80 years ago, perfection is the enemy of progress. So any other visionaries and type A's out there like me around, I hope to meet you on August 3rd at 11 a.m. Pacific in our re-envision and co-design session on Zoom. And remember, all you have to do is click on the link in the show notes or go to the website, sarah@sarahboxx.com, enter August 3rd co-design session, and we will be sure to send you the meeting information. So that's it for this week. I hope you have a fabulous week, and I look forward to seeing you on August 3rd, and if not there, to hearing from you in the future.
You've been listening to the No Labels, No Limits podcast with best-selling author, change agent, and strategic vision coach, Sarah Boxx. You can grab the show notes and find out how to work with Sarah at sarahboxx.com/No Labels, No Limits podcast. We'd love this podcast to reach as many people as possible. So please remember to rate, leave a 5-star review, and share the podcast with someone you think would get value from this conversation. Until next time, keep taking those daily action steps to align your purpose to your principles and achieve your goals in business and life.